All right, welcome to our Smarter SMSF update, the first for the 2024-2025 financial year. It's a bit of a tongue twister and somewhat scary saying that. At the same time, my name is Dunn, and today, as I've mentioned, we are going to spend some time taking a look at what we have been developing over the past quarter. One of the key areas naturally in this quarter has been the fact that we have fairly substantial changes at the 1st of July this year. So what we're going to look at in the first instance is what changes we have seen around the documents. Most importantly, we'll go through that change log of what's occurred if you haven't had the opportunity to look at that. And then from there, we'll go into a range of enhancements, some of the fixes that we've done, some updates that we've done recently around some of those documents, and then to some of the other features that we have within the platform as well, in particular around our Smarter Legal Review service, and then an update around the relevant CPD and education aspects as well. So we've got a full hour to cover here because, as I mentioned, the team has been very busy in respect to what has been happening on the platform. So 1 July is a really big period for us because it means we need to go through and make a number of updates to documents, to forms, all that sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do here is flick straight across to this particular changelog here and just share with you some of these key aspects that we've done. I'm not going to worry naturally about the ASIC fee increase, as most of you would be aware of what's happened in that respect anyway. But to all of our members, we did send out our 1 July update to you here, which is available within our knowledge base. So for those of you that may not know, you've got your knowledge base on the left-hand side here. Doesn't matter where you are in the platform, you've got the ability to access the knowledge base and you can effectively go in it and look up the relevant things that you need to do. So as I've mentioned, we did see an increase of about $21 in respect to the ASIC fees year on year. And we've got a specific article that deals with the change in that fee in respect to company and corporation orders. And we naturally put some additional information in there as well about the changes to other fees that ASIC have that impact self-managed super funds. From our point of view, the biggest area of change that we did, and this had come from a lot of feedback that we'd had from existing members and a range of new members in more recent times, was around our fund establishment. So we've done a fairly comprehensive restructure in some respects of the ancillary documents and the deed itself. And this not only covers our ordinary deed, but also covers the CUROPS. And we have, in essence, got a new sample document that goes through what those structural changes look like. So one of the big differences you'll see in this updated version, you'll also see shortly we've made some updates in respect to the disclaimers, which I'll talk about. But we've now made the recitals and execution pages more aligned to how our other legal documents are actually drafted. So in theory, the recitals and stuff that you can see on the page here, we hadn't really changed since Ian had introduced and wrote this deed back in sort of 2007-8 from a design point of view, but naturally we'd been updating it as the legislation went across. But we have made some changes in here. We have removed the membership applications from the front of the form, and we effectively now have our execution pages there, and we have introduced a schedule at the front as well. So one of the common things we get asked is, do you have a schedule that we can incorporate because the bank needs it or whatever? Effectively, all of that information was sitting in the front document, but now I guess we've decided to put this in play, and therefore in the documentation that we reference up in here, we say in essence that the establishment of the fund is in accordance with the date in which is listed in the schedule. The name of the fund is the one that is listed in the schedule. So we've in essence gone through that process here, and therefore that schedule is naturally an important element to that overall process. From there, I won't bore you with the detail of the changes in the deed itself. That is all one and the same. We have made some very specific changes around the binding death benefit nominations, again in design, not necessarily in the context of the wording here. We have now incorporated some additional space here for you. If you want to include multiple beneficiaries, you'll be able to do that with the portions. And or if you need to get that to equal to 100, you can then list the representative, the legal LPR representative of that individual. And then naturally it still cascades down to specific beneficiaries or LPR as well. All other elements, like I said, around the legal representative, as a replacement trustee, et cetera, all remain the same. The other aspect that we have done in here as well, in the binding nominations, again, similar sort of feedback or formatting that we've done in here around the nominated beneficiaries and dependents. All the replacement trustee is the same. We have removed, we had a note in here that talked about whether you wanted it to be lapsing or non-lapsing. We've now brought that into one of the specific items in here, and we've removed the referencing to who is a qualified witness. And we have now incorporated that into the witnessing area here, that they're declaring that, for example, they are over the age of 18 and they are declaring that they're not the LPR of the member and they're eligible to actually witness this in their own right. So those sort of things have been updated. Again, just feedback and discussions that we regularly have with our members around that formatting requirement. The PDS has naturally been updated to reflect a lot of the 1 July 2024 changes. So, thresholds and contribution caps and the like. I've had Tim Miller go through and do a fairly comprehensive review of these documents as well. And he's just decided, he said there'd be some advantages to adding a couple of little things in here as well. Again, you can go back to the changelog to look at those. We've added some proposed Division 296 tax measures. We've cleaned up a lot of the old referencing to the 1 July 17 reforms, given we're best part of 7 years beyond that now. So you can see the Div 296 tax stuff there. And then if we sort of move down with the updated thresholds and so forth, and then if we move down, what we've now got is in essence our ancillary pack that sits at the end. So our consent to acts are there, as well as our applications for membership are in the back, where they were more previously towards the front. And then one of the minutes to establish was at the front and one of the minutes were at the back. So there's a greater connection of the things that you need to get your client to sign and deal with at the back here. And then we have our clear execution document at the front in respect to the deed itself as well. Now, this is consistent. So you can have in essence, the QROPS version of this. We've done exactly the same. You can still produce standard BDBNs or non-binding death benefit nominations if you want as part of the audit form. So there's no change to the order form itself, but the format that you get off the back of this has naturally changed as well. So the other thing I just wanted to note in respect to those deed changes, so as I said here, you can always come back to this change log, and the change log will tell you what documents have been updated. So we have our new superfund deed, our deed of variation, a lost deed, and the QROPS deed. And then you can go back and see that we made changes in April, July last year, July 22. So you can go back and you can always see where you were at in terms of what deed you have, and then what changes have been made since that point in time to enable you to see whether a deed upgrade may be required or not. So the couple of things worth noting in here above and beyond the design, I did chat already and show you around the BDBNs, so Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 there. I did talk also about the PDS and the ancillary documents. The only other thing worth noting is that we have made an update around the dispute resolution clause in Rule 27. So previously, and some time ago, there'd been agreement with the SMSF Association to somewhat help find a mediator in this situation. We've now removed that process from that situation because they don't really have any capability to undertake that role. There's nothing in their constitution that would allow them to ultimately do that. So what we've now introduced in here is we've replaced that SMSF association reference into the Australian Mediators Association, noting that mediation is still an important first step in the event of any sort of dispute resolution. So that's the other change in respect to Rule 27 there. And as I mentioned, that all flows through to the other documents as well. So let's flick back to, actually, before we do that, there was a couple of other small items that we did change in here around LRBAs. So we do have updated documents in here in respect to the bear trusts and around the LRBA loan facility agreements. So just a few tweaks to the documents just around one of those in here is Ian Glenister. I keep referring to Ian. He was obviously the co-founder of this business with me, now retired. He was the solicitor that drafted a lot of these documents originally. Naturally, post his retirement, we've now utilising Hill Legal as the employed solicitors to help us with these documents. As part of the change that we've done in here, a number of changes just around the mortgage definitions and requirements about charges. We've also cleaned up the referencing that Ian had made around custodial. So the custodial trust, custodial trustee. It's more common, I guess, terminology-wise around calling it a bear trust and a bear trustee. So we have also taken the opportunity, as you'll see throughout this document, it uses the word bear trustee now and bear trust. So those have happened. And then again, like I said, there's been a number of other sort of smaller amendments, nothing of significance in here, but just making sure that we have tidied up you know, some of those little things that we haven't really had a look at for a few years, given the other changes that have been going on. So let's jump back to our slides now. Get back here. So yeah, so you've got our change log. You can go in and you can have a look at those from the changes that or the slides that we send through to you a little bit later on. There's been a number of sort of fixes as we work through this period of beta with our new platform. What I should say is everything we go through today is really focusing on the new Docs 2.0 platform for us. We're not really investing any other time into the old platform as we move towards decommissioning that, but there has been a few little things that we might not pick up that you may pick up as part of the process. So something as simple as a reset button on the sidebar for the integrations rather than having to go into the form itself. We had some issues around invoices not generating or zero values under subscription. So all these little things come about. And so what I do sort of say to you is if you do have ordering issues or things that you think can continue to improve how you order or how you access things, and therefore think it will not only benefit you, but benefit others, please send us through that information. Okay, we don't care how trivial it is. The more we get back as feedback, the better it is. And I always say to my team, the frustration sometimes when we find little bugs and these sort of things that occur, the reality is that people are using the platform. So that's a good thing. What we don't want to have is these bugs then representing themselves. So the more feedback that we get from you about these things, the better. We will then review them. We will then prioritize those things as well, and then naturally allow for these to be available for everyone to benefit from those particular changes. So on the enhancements front, we now have the push to CAS 360 added onto the completed orders for the companies. So you can see that in there. I will jump across in a second to show you where some of this information is sitting. In addition to that, we have recently added onto here for those that use Microsoft-based products. There are two key enhancements that we've done. One is if you are wanting to or utilizing cloud storage, either OneDrive or SharePoint, you now have the ability from the completed orders tab, as you can see here, an action to be able to save those documents up to OneDrive or SharePoint. The other thing that we did is we effectively rebuilt some of our multi-factor authentication. And one of those key changes as part of that rebuild is we now have the opportunity for you to use either the Microsoft Authenticator, or you can actually use the Google Authenticator yourself. So David Devine, who many of you may have spoken to through support, through, I guess, membership and so on and so forth, does some wonderful work with the user guides and how you can go about understanding and setting up things or accessing courses or integrations, that sort of stuff. So what we have also got in here is now an enhanced user guide about getting that multi-factor authentication set up. And you can see in here, we now have those two options available to you. So if you maybe had the Google Authenticator set up, but you use Microsoft products and you want to go back to using an authenticator that is Microsoft based, you can effectively reset your 2FA and then go through the process again if you want to. You just need to then go into this particular guide here and then work through the relevant process to get that actually set up yourself. Okay, so it's all here, the opportunity to do that. Naturally, we need multi-factor authentication as part of the digital service providers framework. It's mandatory, obviously, as part of our integrations that we have with all of our software partners as well. So you can simply type 2FA there and you'll be able to see the process around setting up multi-factor authentication as part of that process. So another feature that the team has been working on in recent times. Let's then jump in to actually what I didn't show you as well, which I needed to, was if I go back to my document, sorry. So I showed you the 2FA there. So over here, we then have under the completed orders. So I did want to share with you, obviously, the CAS 360 and the documents thing here. So what you can see in here is that we do have, I just need to find a company. Which I think I've got one just back a touch further here. So the company, yep, we do here. So now you can see under here, again, just remember, so one of the, again, the feedback with the actions tab that we have here is, having a much neater structure to be able to find things. So whether it's that you're doing the integration, if it's with a BGL, or if it's doing with CAS 360 here, or you're using a particular doc flow, you can see very clearly the structure that and where you need to go to find potentially something is available. So in this instance, we've got our company, and then we can simply go in here. We can either send the document straight back into CAS 360, or we can push that company into 360 as well. So I'm not going to focus on doing that as part of today's session. We did run an integrations week thing at the end of June, and you can find out more about how that process works. Again, if we go into a particular document, I'll just go back to the front page here. You will then see the fact that from the document list of things that we have here, you then have not only the ability to download the document and reset the document for members that want to push it back because there's an error or something they need to do, but we now have that OneDrive and SharePoint access there as well. So naturally, it's going to require you to sign in. And then once you've signed in and so forth, you'll have that connection there to send that document up and store it where you want to ultimately store it. And that principle obviously applies the same with SharePoint there as well. So noting that we do have Dropbox, Google Drive, and I thought we did have box.com as well. So if you've got other document storage solutions that you'd like us to explore, again, give us that feedback, and we're more than happy to look at whether we want to sort of invest our time into that as well. So how many people sort of demand that. Naturally, with some of these, you've got the ability to send them into your SMSF software document storage in any event as well. So let's kick back over to our slides again. And go over to our other enhancements. So I actually had this slide last time and just wanted to again highlight for people a couple of key things. So we are still leaving our Docs 2.0 platform, we call it. Obviously, it's the next iteration of our platform at Smarter SMSF. It is still in an open beta environment. And as I mentioned before, we are spending most of our time, in fact, 95% of our time, working on features, documents, all roads in essence leading to this new platform. We are currently testing the next round of 10 odd documents going into the new platform from the old platform, and any new documents that we're adding, we are naturally adding into the new system. And then to be able to access that, you'll be automatically sent to the new system to do it. So a really good example of that is our deed of rectification. So jumping over to that again here, what you'll see is under the actual ordering process, if I go into our existing platform and I want to find the rectification, well, you can order it here, but what it's going to do is it's going to automatically sign you on, single sign you on across to this platform. And then from here, you will then complete that application around the rectification process. Okay, so we're going to continue to add in here on the basis that ultimately this will be decommissioned over the next sort of, well, probably by Christmas, if I'm being honest with you. So again, that's really what the process is going to be over this current period of time and then as we continue through. So continuing through, I guess the only other thing that I wanted to add here is in addition to the features that we're adding, it is about enhancing UI functionality. But one of the things that we will also be rolling out towards the end of this month is for our members, you will be able to utilize the TFN ABN integration under your subscription. So that means like you order a document, it will simply deduct off the counter. So we know at the moment, if you do a ABN, there is a member-based fee and a PAYG fee. So that member fee will disappear. Those that want to order on a pay-as-you-go basis will still pay the pay-as-you-go fee. But for those of you that want to go through and use the ABN TFN, which we're getting wonderful feedback in terms of the time that it's saving, the fact that it's coming through instantaneously, in essence, as a document, if it gets approved by the ATO. So that sort of feedback that we get is all about how we can move things quicker into that live production environment that you can see I mentioned at the bottom of the screen as well. So again, we continue through this. We do go through bits of pain as we go along this journey. It's why I keep referring to it as beta, and I'm sure you probably hear David talk about that constantly as well as I feed him that message quite clearly. We do encourage you, the more that you use those forms, the quicker that we can enhance that. And we will be shortly starting to roll out the first lot of changes, like you saw in that deed of rectification before, where we're going to be turning the tap off on the form on the old site. So if you order a company and you click company on the old site, it will effectively require you to order it on the new site, and so on and so forth. So some of those forms that we have been religiously testing on the new platform, we will be over the coming months starting to turn off some of those old forms, so that again we're moving you across into that new environment. In terms of what we're working on, I think I did already touch on the fact here we are testing, in essence, the next 10 forms. So LRBA loan facilities, adding members, there's a whole range of those. And I also mentioned the sort of 5 to 6 that we're working on in the not too distant future as well. The more that we can actually add into the new platform, it's going to allow us to really expand out our doc flows process. And what I mean by our doc flows process is the fact that we'll be able to pass forms to form to form that information to save you time in that ordering process. So you will have seen as I went to that new fund or the company order before, I should say, the doc flow that sits at the back of that completed order allows us to do that next step. So in a new SMSF, it enables us to apply for that ABN and TFN automatically. If we do a company, it can enable us to do a new SMSF or potentially a change of trustee. And with a change of trustee, it can enable us to do a trustee upgrade. Now, we're building those relevant workflows or doc flows in here. So a workflow of a particular action. But what then we're also doing as part of this particular process is then we're going to be building out for you or giving you access to be able to build out pre-populated workflows. So what I mean by that is that you'll be able to actually create that workflow yourself, because I need to set up a new fund and I need to then be able to do an LRBA as well. And you can see here, we will take you through the relevant steps and you'll be able to tick off those processes and then complete whatever step has to happen next, where that data is going to continually go from one step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. So you can see in here, these are the ones that we have already that we're starting to work on. We're starting to get some feedback from users as to what works and what doesn't work. And then once we're happy with it, to move it into an open beta environment, we will give you that access to be able to really get underway and utilize this. And again, a lot of this is incumbent upon getting more documents into this part of our platform, because the more documents, the more sort of doc flows that we can build throughout this as well. The other area, just going back to our slides that I wanted to touch on, is around our central integrations page. So again, what we have on the site at the moment is down the left-hand side is the ability for you to connect ordinarily to Class or BGL or Supermate. And then within the forms as well, as I've highlighted previously, you can connect there. We do recognize, though, that we need both business level integration and fund level integration with some of our SMSF software providers. So if you're setting up a new fund, for example, using Class, and you want to send that single click, so push that up into your Class software, many firms might be using business level and or brand level. So therefore you need to be able to know where that's being pushed to. So into a particular advisory firm or to a particular brand, however that is structurally set up, so it lands in ultimately the right spot. So that work is still ongoing at this point in time. And hopefully by the time we get to the next update, I'll be able to show you what that area looks like. The other area that we're spending a lot of time on at the moment is our client list page, and I'll go and talk to that in a little bit more shortly. And we are getting feedback at the moment around some functionality with CSV imports for new fund establishments, companies, and so forth. And the other one that we'll be introducing this for is our bulk deed upgrade. So the fact that you'll be able to import a file and save multiple orders for then you to review those bulk updates that you may want to go through and look at undertaking. And the final one there, the team is also developing some custom cover pages within our admin console for those that are on our Create Plus subscription. So those that want some customizable cover pages for some of the legal documents for new fund establishments, companies, and the like as well. So one of the areas I wanted to touch on is this concept of a client list. So one of the things that I wanted to do in introducing this platform, this new Docs 2.0 platform, is the fact that we want it to be more fund-centric as opposed to a document-centric platform. And yes, you can connect via an integration as you go each and every time. You need to connect and keep moving. But one of the things that we wanted to do is to naturally fast track what that looks like. So rather than doing it at an order level, what we're going to allow you to do is to create a client list, in essence, on the platform that will capture things like fund, trustee, and member information. The advantage of doing that at that level and importing that either from the existing database of orders via a CSV import via your SMSF software means that you can then sync the database back to your software, for example, to keep that fund and client and member information up to date. And then from there, it will allow you within each of the order forms to simply populate that fund rather than having to connect to that integration each and every time. So you can see some screens there as well that highlight that. I'll show you what the team has been working on in respect to this. And what you can see here is this client list, and it allows you to, in essence, go in and look at a particular fund. Okay, so this is the list that we have currently. Again, you can filter it by however many you have there. And then I want to go in and I want to view the history of this particular fund. And we're capturing in here our fund information, our trustee information, and then our member information in here. So the idea here is that, and we can edit that as we want to, but naturally the idea here is that we want to be able to ultimately use this information to populate the forms as opposed to having to connect each and every time. Now, there will be forms that will want to get a connection done because there might be other aspects to the ordering process that we need to get. Pension commencement is a really good example there. But rather than us having to go in each and every time and hook up the connection to be able to order the document, so one of these ones here, this will simply give us the opportunity to choose from the client list, and then all that information will populate very quickly. And again, saving more time. That's what people keep telling us. How can we make things faster? There's platform speed that we know. The more that we can give that data to you to enable you to get it done in a much more quicker environment, the better off it is for you as well. And again, the idea here being that it will allow you to actually manage and, in essence, sync the funds that you have in here. So you can import. You can import using a relevant connection here. Okay, so it may be that you want to connect via Supermate as an example. So you'll authorize that connection, and then it will enable you to select, in this instance, the relevant site, and then view the data and choose which ones you want to add as part of that process. So you can see in here, it allows me to choose those ones. And once that's done, we can effectively go from there. And again, just simply enabling us to select what ones we want to update, what ones we want to bring in. And again, the same principles apply through the multi-factor authentication here and the connection, the same what we can do with our BGL clients and so forth as well here. So we're pretty excited by what this will enable you to do. It is, I guess, this is the first sort of step. The other thing you can see here is trying to, in the Smarter SMSF context as to what's on the platform, actually going through the orders and trying to establish all of that relevant information this way as well. It's probably not going to be the quickest way. I'd probably suggest, given if you have your, so you can see all the relevant orders over time in this instance, and you can then go and import the relevant fund that you want to in that regard. If you don't use any of these softwares or you want to drag it from somewhere else, you've got a different source of truth, Xero, for example, then you could do an export and import via that CSV function as well. And again, we've got a download sample template, and you can simply click and drag and import as part of that as well. So again, we see this as a really exciting new feature to the platform. Again, all about delivering more speed and accuracy in how you can get that work done. Let's move back again to our slides. And again, before I do that, I might just highlight a couple of those other quick points that I spoke to on those slides here, because it is giving you access to use things like the CSV here. So again, it may be you want to use an external lot of data to be able to bring this information in. And as I said, the deed upgrades will be adding into this shortly. It then allows you, if you have templates, to create those templates or manage those templates. And then once you have that, you can map for the first time in that next phase. And once you've mapped that, it will then naturally populate that information into the form and save that as a template. So you don't have to map each and every time. You're actually choosing from that particular process. And I'm not sure whether I've got something in here that might help me upload. And you can see here, it's just about mapping to the relevant fields or select a template that you can see here, utilize that, and then go through the relevant process. Okay, so naturally, I haven't got the forms lined up here, but I just wanted to show you how that information works as well. Let's go back again to the slides. Sorry, I'm jumping backwards and forwards all the time, but that's part of what today's session's all about, is showing you what's happening. So I guess just a wrap in respect to this area is we are, I guess, moving more towards stage 3, and then ultimately into stage 4. So you will start to see those redirections. You will start to see us decommissioning some of those old forms there, with a view that then we effectively will turn the tap off. I keep saying end of September. It'd be great if we did, probably closer to the end of the year as well. But single sign-on effectively takes you right through the platform into our docs area, into our admin console, into our learning platform, into our auto deed service, all those different areas. In terms of other updates, the main thing to note here, I did touch on in showing you the new SMSF and the LRBA. We've been adding updated legal disclaimers, again, across the suite of documents, in particular with the introduction of the Smarter Legal Service. The main one that we have recently updated is our pension rollback. And this is not only in respect to the adding some additional features, but naturally as a part of the recent update of the tax ruling 2013-5, which is around when a pension ceases and not meeting the pension standards. So you can see here, we've got our pension rollback form. The rollback form deals with account-based pensions, TRISs in the retirement phase. And I've got references down there to the sample docs, which I'll come back and show you shortly. But what we have done in respect to this form here is we've added some additional features into the actual form itself. So I'm going to, I probably should have had one ready to go here, but I'll quickly just populate some information here. Company. That will just add one. Meeting address. John. This is where the client list would be happy. So who's the person paying the pension, date of birth, mail address. Okay, and you can see in here we've now got the different pensions that can be done. So I'll just call this an account-based pension. We'll say it's ABP number 1. Got our relevant rule of clause there, 25.5 for the Smarter SMSF deed. And now we've got our reason for the rollback. Okay, so this is something that is new, where historically it was really only being done on member request. So one of the things that the ATO have made very clear in the new tax ruling TR 2013/5 is that if you fail to meet the minimum pension, or you fail the pension standards ordinarily, then the pension fails from an income tax point of view. But the only way you'll be able to, in essence, get it for income tax purposes to be in the retirement phase again is by virtue of ceasing that pension, so a commutation and then an effective repurchase. So that is different terminology than what was previously indicated in the ruling that was initiated back in 2013-2014. Okay, so the revised one, which was really only to introduce requirements impacting the 2017 reforms, we've now seen the Commissioner give some indication around the views of a pension ceasing for income tax purposes and what their views are as to why it's ceasing for superannuation law and trust law purposes, and what their expectations are ultimately. So when we have a member request in here, we can put the date of that request. We can put whether the balance is known or not known, whether there was initial, so like a 2-step process that we've done historically as well, and the value being done in a pro rata minimum, naturally subject to the date of rollback under the member request. We then have the failure under the pension standards. So one of the things we've said here, if the pension ceases due to the failure, the first day of the year is the day that it must be rolled back. So in this instance, it would be 1 July 2023, and we'd have the value at that point in time. And we then would naturally produce the documents that deal with the difference between a pension rollback under member request or a pension rollback under the failed standards. And what I might just do here is go up and just show you, we've added some sample documents in here, and I've also created a video recently to explain a bit more about what I've just gone through relatively quickly. And we also have, in this instance here, I've created a sample of the TRIS rollback documents where they have failed the pension standards here. So again, we just reference a failure of the pension standards as opposed to a minimum because it applies to both the minimum and the maximum. And you can see in here, it talks about the particular breach and what those requirements are in respect to that breach, the resolutions that need to occur there, and then the trustee notification about that rollback due to the failure to meet the pension standards. So we are very deliberate in the deed as much as the documents here to say that there is a cessation of the pension. Okay, so what we do in here is we say that the pension has failed in this TRIS example, and as a result, the pension stops. Okay, so we're following what the deed says, and the deed in here, we have previously made reference to this in the actual rule 25 point, we'll go up to 20. Yep, so income streams and rollbacks, so 25.5. And then in here, you can see 25.5B, where the member does not meet the terms and conditions of the income stream for the year, the superannuation income stream must roll back to the member's accumulation interest in accordance with the superannuation laws. So we're following what the trust says, which is in essence now what is consistent with what we've always viewed to be the case, but in essence what the Commissioner has indicated as part of that process as well. So again, new feature that we've added in here, and then you can see the different documents that we generate off the back of that, either through the member request process here. So we've got a sample document about the ABP rollback. And then we also have, as I said before, the failed pension standards. And we have different outcomes. So a pension that is failed on account-based pension is going to, the documents are very different to the pension failed in the TRIS standards, for example. An account-based pension here naturally includes things like our ECPI claim and our transfer balance cap reporting, which is irrelevant in the context of our TRIS, but we do have a legal early access elements that we need to factor into that as well. So again, just the nuances to be understood, which is why we've decided to kind of ramp that up and prioritize those documents. Given that this is a first year, again, that we've had clients that have sort of gone back to that normalized, pardon me, minimum pension for that previous financial year. So again, just be aware that these documents are available quite clearly. If you're trying to use documents out of your SMSF software, the specifics of these sort of things aren't incorporated into those. And therefore, you know, are you comfortable that those are going to satisfy what the auditor may require in that particular instance? So let's keep moving along and get back to our slides again. So in terms of what else we're working on from a document point of view, we're going to split out our adding and removing members. So it'll allow us to add minors into the new one. And then in respect to different reasons for removal, we do continually get different examples coming about. We've had one about a disqualified trustee recently. So we've kind of custom built that sort of thing. So we're going to, it just makes it easier to split those out into two. Equally, we're in the throes of finalising a separate death benefit income stream document. And once that's done, the old pension commencement form, so not the one that includes the unknown balance, we will be decommissioning that one because that's the only one at the moment that has the death benefit in there. and Chris Hill and myself are still working on a bare trust vesting deed. In essence, once that loan has been paid out, we're still sort of waiting to see what's happening on the Div 296 tax front. So once we sort of understand that a bit more, knowing that that's a moving feast at the moment, we'll provide some further guidance around that. The team continues, I guess, to work on some stuff around our automated deed service. I did touch on this last time, so if you want to find out a bit more about that, you can watch our previous session to sort of share some information about that. Again, we just had some other priorities, so we've just sort of put that on hold as we focus on our Docs 2.0 platform, most importantly, and bringing that to life. Our Smarter Legal Review service is naturally rolled out. We're seeing many people utilize that service. So if you want legal sign-off in respect to deed upgrades, changes of trustees, fund members, guardians, all these sorts of things, you can do that as part of a particular process. If you have a document that you know is defective and you need a rectification to occur, we have different levels of review and rectification available to be able to support that, backed by Chris's team at Hill Legal. And again, you can go to the Smarter Legal Review site to find out more about that. But what I did want to highlight here that we have improved over the journey of these orders, if we've now introduced an amber light, in essence, when you undertake legal review through that ordering process. So what you can see on the screen here is that if we have a submitted order where there has been legal review requested, then the completed orders page will put an on hold on that document where a document is to be generated by the platform, and it will show as amber, and it will say it is subject to legal review. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you can't download that document, but as you can see on the screen here, you should only be generating that document once that legal review process has been completed. And once that has been completed, it will then move that document from amber back to purple. Okay, so if I jump into the completed orders screen in here, and I'll just show you a particular one that we've done. You'll be able to see in the completed orders page, there will be a document here that will have legal review. If it doesn't come up on the second page, I'll choose rectification. Don't know why that's gone grey. Let me just check variation. Always when you want it. But what you can see here is that should be amber there, and then it says generate the order, and it will mean that you are required to submit or complete an acknowledgement, as you can see on the previous screen. I'm going to go back to this one here and say legal review is completed. And then as part of that legal review, maybe I might need to... Sorry, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to go and jump back in here. Might have clicked around too many pages. And it will require you to click an acknowledgement that that legal review process has been done. And it's going to time print and acknowledge that you've done it. So we will always be able to track on our side that you've requested legal review, and then you have received that legal review, it has been done, and then enable you to finish off that process. I'm not sure why Joyce, it was working before. So I will jump back and I'll show you again on the screen here, just to make sure that that's all clear to everyone as part of that process. So you'll see the legal review and the acknowledgement that has been prepared, and I hereby acknowledge that I've been provided with that as part of this process to complete the order. Okay, so that is the process. And again, we're adding more and more documents into the legal review for you to choose to do so. So change of trustee, deed upgrades, LRBAs, fund members, guardians, a whole range of those are available. I've touched already on the pricing that works around that. So if you want to find out more, get in contact with us at Smarter SMSF. I'm more than happy to walk you through how that works. And I guess a final wrap in terms of what's happening. We have naturally added more recently our masterclasses into the Smarter SMSF platform. So for those that are CPD members, you can log into the platform at any point in time to be able to access those. So if I go across in here under the masterclasses area, you can log in and access any of those ones that we've run so far this particular year as well. So we did one in June around our property masterclass. What I should say is these are available only in here for our members, our CPD members. All of our masterclass events you can purchase live to attend if you're PAYG, but you cannot purchase them as recordings. They are only available in here for our members to be able to access. In terms of our course content, we are working through the process of updating our courses in terms of the currency of the content. So our foundations course is now complete, modules 1 through to 6, with sort of implementation dates of anywhere between January and February this year through to June. So the currency of that content will have some tweaks to it over the course of the next month or two. Our Essentials course is the first one that's getting its updates done for July this year. Just a note that for either of those courses, if you are looking to utilize those, you do get the ability to, upon successful completion, a complimentary period of membership with the SMSF Association. So that is something that is worth noting. The other thing I did touch on last time is we do have our AI in as part of our course content. So as you work through the courses and you want to ask questions, you can do that through the AI bot as well, because we have all of the reference material linked into that as well. So we see that as kind of our level 1 support as part of that particular process, and we'll be looking to expand that out as well. And I guess the final thing that we've done recently is we've now introduced our technical support product. So we have support 5, 10, and 20 there. So rather than doing that as a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, it's simply, we know people have questions, we know they need questions answered. So we've done it in a sort of a scaled way that you can see there. What I will say is for those that have those questions, we've built it into exactly the same framework that sits within our existing knowledge base and the ability to be able to log those tickets. So what I mean by that is we have our support area. You can see from our learning platform here, you can see the support via our documents, orders, and so forth. And it effectively takes you through to our help or support area. Now, as a member with our support, you will then see these 2 tabs. So anyone who is who has access to the platform will be able to add general support tickets here, and you can naturally track all those tickets that are done and answered and active or not completed, and so on and so forth. For those that have technical support, you will also have this one here, and you'll be able to log that ticket with us. And we do have a specific email. So when you sign up for technical support, you'll be able to, you'll get an email, and you'll get that actual specific email address that you'll be able to ask those questions of as well. But in essence, it logs a ticket in here, and you can go back and you can track that information, and you can see if it's outstanding and completed as well. We're doing it this way because we feel that this way we can keep track of very common tickets. And then as we move along, we'll build out more and more of a library to be able to support you as well. Again, it will give you the opportunity to upload information in there to be able to help in terms of that ticket submission here too. So again, just wanted to share that we do have that product now available to support you and or your business. And similarly to what we do with our CPD subscriptions, we will naturally ask for the subscription in respect to, if it's a business, who are the relevant parties that are linked to that subscription that will be able to answer that, because then any questions that are answered naturally are deducted off a counter, which is the way that we do it with our document subscriptions as well. So that pretty much takes you through to the end of today's session. What we do have coming up at the end of this month, and it's been wonderful to see the amount of support that we have, is our Smarter Legal Week. So you're going to hear from both Chris Hill and myself as we go through 4 key webinars on the Smarter SMSF deed. So things that you must be looking for in your deeds today. We're going to be drilling down further into our Smarter Legal Review and the processes around that. We're going to be exploring enduring powers of attorney and the SMSF power of attorney that is being created specifically with Inherit Australia in accordance with the Smarter SMSF deed. And then we're also going to be looking at the fund members guardian, again, something very specific to the Smarter SMSF deed and why we see it as important to the fund process and the role that you can play as a professional as part of that as well. And finally, our next CPD webinar is at the back end of August, our pensions masterclass for members. You will get a registration for that, probably the middle of August, early to mid-August anyway, to get you going, get you registered. For those of you that are not members, probably a good opportunity to have a think about it, given the amount of masterclass and value you get from those and our other webinars throughout the year. But that is now available to purchase online as well. And all of these sort of sessions that we run, including things like those Smarter Legal Reviews, our Integrations Week, and much more, we do upload all those onto our YouTube channel. So join the 150 odd that subscribe to our YouTube channel and not only get these videos, but also can access Tim and my videos, our Feeling Smarter weekly series, where we look at a particular topic and technical issue and walk our way through those sort of 5 to 10 minutes at most to keep you up to speed with what's happening as well. So that pretty much takes us to the end of the day. So thank you very much for joining me for today's Smarter SMSF update. Hopefully it's given you some insights into what's been updated, what we're continuing to work on, and what we look forward to sharing with you in the not too distant future. If there's any ideas, things that you need addressed, please get in contact with either myself or David or Joanne, anyone of the team at Smarter SMSF, and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you and hopefully look to not only benefit you, but a lot of our other members as well. So thanks, have a great rest of the day, and bye for now.